Excellent. So first and foremost, we want to thank everybody for their time today. We know that it's been a really, really busy week with all of the shows. This has essentially been the week in geosynthetics. So we know that everybody's traveling. Everybody's been just busy doing other things. So we really appreciate you having us with you. Next. So today what we're talking about and what you're going to hear in the following slides is why fabric formwork. So some of you know me, some of you do not. I am relatively new to Synthetex. I joined in June of 2023. I am not new to geosynthetics generally. I have been in the industry for almost 11 years now, previously at a manufacturer. I came over to Synthetex because I thought the products, I thought the services were really interesting and had a lot of opportunities for growth and a lot of practical applications in the field. Can you guys hear us okay? We're getting some feedback that we can't. And I'd like to address that before we all sit for an hour. Excellent.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Then I'm Andrew Manning. I've been with Synthetex for just over 3 years. I'm our Value Engineering Solutions Manager. So with that, I take any value engineering opportunity through the design process and then a little bit on the commercial side as well.
So about Synthetex as an organization, we were founded in 2008 by a gentleman named John Scales. John Scales had quite a legacy in the geosynthetics industry, and he was here until his 81st birthday. At which point we sold to Vinci Construction, and we are now a part of the Reinforced Earth Group, something that we're very excited about. Our manufacturing capabilities, we are out of Toccoa, Georgia. We weave, fabricate there, and then we can ship globally. We're a single source manufacturer, which means we're with you cradle to grave. So we're with you from project concept all the way to installation. We do all of our own weaving, all of our own fabrication, all of our own R&D and technical support. So let's talk about fabric formwork as a technology. So fabric formwork has been around almost 50 years, or around the 1970s is when we saw the inception. It is a woven double layer of fabric. It's a formwork that is meant to be cast in place. With Synthetex, we have a variety of different product features and thicknesses that we can use to fully customize the solution for you. And here we have my favorite video. This is an installation here, and it demonstrates some of our product features. Doesn't it just, like, it scratches a nice place in my brain, this video does.
So a couple of things to point out is you'll notice that the grout is limited as to where it can flow. The mattresses do come installed with baffles. This is an installation aid to help control the size of the compartment that you try to fill with grout. I'd also like to point out how the fabric does contract while it's pumping. So that's what this gentleman here is doing, is controlling that as he goes along. And then the last thing to note is how small of an operation it really takes to install. You have a couple of people managing the material while it's being filled, but then at the top of slope, we have a lot of people just watching the installation.
So what applications do we use for fabric formwork? So that's your general erosion control, scour control, and hard armor protection. So those are the 3 buckets that we see fabric formwork being used successfully in. Throughout the rest of the presentation, we're going to get down into some of those specific applications and see some of our case studies and project history. Some of the nice things about fabric formwork as compared to a riprap or a precast articulated block, and what you could expect on your project if you were to choose to design with it, is cost savings. We're not shipping around heavy concrete all over the country. We're shipping you the formwork. It saves on logistics costs. It's safer. It's easier. It requires less heavy equipment and less logistics of getting your material around the country. It allows you to source your grout locally, which helps further reduce your costs.
Great. So now we'll go into a couple of features of the fabric formwork. And so, of course, its primary purpose is to cast concrete in place as opposed to a precast system. But the formwork can be designed to allow for articulation. It can be designed to allow for hydrostatic pressure relief, which here in just a moment, we've got a video for that. So this is a filter point style mattress. We've just got a hose behind it just to show what can happen, but the woven filter points allow for the relief of hydrostatic pressure from behind the mattress. If the project calls for it, it can be designed to have prefabricated cutouts or other customizations done in our facility. So that way, when you get to the site, you don't have to do any fabrication in the field. What's pictured here is a pile cutout for a port project. And then this piece of fabric that goes around the cutout is a pile seal. So that way it also fills with grout to create a more intimate seal with the pile. We have products that allow for revegetation. This is actually one of my favorite lines. It has about a 30% open area that allows for the revegetation of the mattress. It can be installed in cold conditions as well. One of the main features of fabric form concrete is it can be installed underwater. No dewatering is required to pump these mattresses with grout. The mattresses, when they arrive on site, they will arrive in panels that are more easy to manage than the full project layout. You connect the panels with zippers, but an important feature with the zipper is the bottom layer of the mattress zips to the bottom layer, and the top layer zips to the top layer, so that way grout can flow across that connection point, which helps create a more solid monolithic structure. It's going to save on installation costs because it requires less labor, time, and equipment than other erosion control methods. It's also going to save on shipping and logistics, like Hilary was saying, because at the end of the day, the fabric is the lightweight component to erosion control. You can get your concrete locally and have that come directly to your site.
I'll just add one more thing just to dimension a little bit for like terms of cost. It's got to be a very, very large project to even require one truckload. You're going to save substantially on shipping. Most of this goes LTL on a pallet.
So next we'll look at a couple of applications of where Hydrotex fabric might be useful. First, you have rivers and navigable waterways, ports and harbors, bridges, locks and dams, and coastal and inland shorelines. You also have canals and channels, culverts and outfalls, industrial ponds, and contaminated sediment capping. Landfills, mines, oil and gas pipelines, as well as subsea pipelines. What's pictured here in photo 11, that is a pipe wrap. So we do offer hard armor and ballast solutions as well.
So it pretty much goes everywhere.
Pretty much everywhere. So now we'll just go into each of those in a little bit more detail, just with some images and examples. So this is for rivers and navigable waterways. Here's some example projects that we've done, typically larger projects on rivers. Some examples from ports and harbors that we've done. And various port projects. bridges, locks, and dams. Here's an example of a pile cutout. This one has just been grouted. It does not have the seal in the image on the bottom left.
Anywhere where water meets the earth.
When you do have penetrations for culverts, excuse me, these are typically done in the field. You can cut and resew the fabric in the field to allow for whatever penetration you may have. But with proper detailed drawings, we can also make these fabrications in our facility, so that way when the material arrives on site, it's ready to be installed. We also do various industrial applications. We can be a hard armor protection for an HDPE liner, or a ballast for other liner systems as well. At landfills, we often run into very steep slopes for their drainage channels. Hydrotex is a great formwork for that, as it can be installed on slopes up to a 1-to-1 steepness. And then similarly with mine applications as well. For oil and gas pipelines, this is typically a ballast and a scour protection. So they might install it above the pipes. That way, if any scour occurs, the blocks articulate in place and then continue to protect, or just wrapping the pipe as a whole to allow for hard armor protection, and then of course a ballast layer as well. So a couple of different solution types that Synthetex offers. We have several different mattress types that we can produce from our weaving process. And so the first one I want to highlight is uniform section. This is going to be most similar to an unreinforced slab. It's commonly used in industrial ponds or as a channel liner. It has the lowest friction coefficients of any of our products, and that allows for higher water velocities and lower depths. You can really optimize for the project. Next, we have filter point. It's similar in function as uniform section, as it is most resembles an unreinforced slab. But as we talked about earlier, it does have the woven filter points at specified locations. This allows for hydrostatic pressure relief. It would be similar to if you've ever seen slope paving or uniform section with weep tubes. This replaces the need for the weep tube. Our articulating block mattress, it is a cast-in-place articulating block system. It contains cables in both directions, so that way the mattress itself remains monolithic. The cables become encapsulated in concrete during the pumping process, setting it apart from a precast articulating system. Our EnviroMat products are a revegetated line that we were discussing earlier. They come in an average thickness of 1 inch up to 4 inches and contain a 30% open area to allow for that revegetation. We also manufacture grout bags. They can be specified in nearly any width, length, or thickness. Their primary purpose is to serve as a void filler, but they also serve for ballast and other purposes as well. Hydrocast is a line that we offer that is more or less a highly customized grout bag. So the one that we have pictured here is approximately 16 feet long, 16 feet wide, and 4 feet thick. That would become a very large concrete block that was used as a splash pad at a dam. So now we'll talk about a little bit of the process of working with Synthetex. The first step is the project analysis. So at this phase, if it's usually a design build or if it's a VE project, we'll look at any project documents and specifications available. We'll look at the project's hydraulics when they're available. And at this stage, we'll develop a recommended product and a recommended thickness to resist the shears that might be applied to the mattress. The next step is the solution design. At this phase, we'll confirm the design with any calculations that may be required that weren't completed as a part of the project analysis. We typically use the Polarcheck method, which was developed by a gentleman out of the Netherlands. We'll also complete our takeoffs and layouts at this phase. And we will also review the project for any other customizations that might be useful to the project. For example, filling sleeves for underwater installation, so the divers know where the mattress needs to be filled from. This takes us to our proposal process. At the proposal stage, since we've gone through so many details on the takeoff side, that helps limit any change orders or any surprises that might come on the project. We can also assist with the total installed costs dependent on the grout cost and the labor cost in the project's location. Once we receive the purchase order and the project is ready to begin manufacturing, at this stage, we'll prepare shop drawings for the project. These consist of really two main features. The first is an entire project plan view overlay. With each of the panels being customized, when you receive a panel on site, use panel 82 as an example, that panel goes in a very specific location. So we'll provide an overview drawing to help identify where each panel needs to go. We also provide a detailed drawing of each panel that will be on the project. Just a couple of examples of shop drawings and the panel details.
We also do not charge for this service. This is included with every single project that you bring us.
And at this phase, we'll also detail out any of the customizations that might be installed on the mattresses. Once the shop drawings have been approved, we will move to weaving and fabrication. We do all of our own weaving in-house. We start from raw yarns, weave them into our various products, and then sew what comes off the loom is called a millwidth. We will sew our millwidths into the panels and install the zippers and customizations. For the weaving process, again, we start with the raw yarn. We then put those on a warp. The warp then moves to the loom. And then the looms are set up with various components that allow for the different styles to be woven. Depending on the mattress type, it has various types of thickness controls, whether it be the mattress being woven into a single layer, such as the filter points, or with thickness control cords as our uniform section and articulating blocks contain. As the material is coming off the loom, it is inspected for quality. And then that moves us to the fabrication process. So at this point, we'll take the millwidths and sew them into the panels and attach the zippers. For the projects that require it, we will install cables for the articulating block panels. A uniform section is often cabled as well. Once the mattress has been cabled, we'll move to any cutouts that might be required for pile or pipe penetrations, or for any customizations that might be required to move around a curved area on the plan view. And then finally, we'll install any custom hardware. What we see in picture 4 is a mechanical filling valve being installed, most likely for a port project. Once the panels have been fabricated, we move to the shipping process. Before moving on for shipment, each panel is inspected for quality against its drawing. The panels are then folded and placed into boxes and pallets, or we can also install the panels on cores to allow for easier installation in the field. The final step that Synthetex supports our projects is through installation support. We have a team of engineers that we can send to the site to help train your crews and to help troubleshoot any issues that might arise at project kickoff. We can also attend your kickoff meetings. So moving on to the installation process. Here are a couple of items that you might need for a typical Hydrotex installation. One I want to point out is the flow cone. So the Hydrotex mattresses are filled with a fine aggregate flowable concrete or grout mix. It's just a sand cement water mix, but really that's the key to everything. So with that, you want to check to make sure that your grout is flowable enough to be installed in the mattress prior to beginning installation. So a little bit more on the grout. So once the truck and the line pump arrive, here you can see a few images of the flow cone test being performed. For any compressive strength samples, we do recommend using a cardboard box instead of the steel casing. Part of the pumping process, the water leaches out through the mattress, leaving behind the cementitious fines. But with that, it's difficult to replicate for your compressive strength test. So we've noticed that the cardboard box does absorb a little bit of that extra water, creating a sample more similar to what's actually being installed. And so concrete mix is your key to success. It's a fine aggregate. Concrete is a mixture of Portland cement, fine aggregate sand, and water, as we were stating, that when properly proportioned and mixed will produce a pumpable grout. And it should be pre-mixed following Synthetex recommendations at a concrete batch plant and then delivered to your site. And then here's an example of our recommended grout mix. To install the mattresses, you'll first want to grade your site. Next, you'll stake out the area where the formwork is to be installed and dig your anchor trenches. The next step is to roll out a protective liner. We do recommend a non-woven geotextile be installed beneath all Hydrotex mattresses, regardless of formwork style. The next step is to roll out your panels and zip them together, and then you can begin filling them with concrete. Our motivation is a successful solution and installation that is safer, easier, and more affordable than other erosion and scour control solutions. That's why our team partners with your team from solution through site technical field. And so with that, we'll take any questions.
All right, it looks like we've got some in the chat. From Mohammed, thank you for the question. Can we use this product for a seat lift? It should be trafficable in Arctic area. And what is the limitations? That's a good question, Mohammed.
It is. So I would need a little bit more information to look into it specifically. I'm not sure specifically what they mean by sea lift.
Mohammed, would you be able to share a little bit more about your site needs? And while we're waiting for some more from Mohammed, let's go to Jose. I have a question. Do you guys give us information about the concrete mix recommended? We absolutely do. We have a document that we would provide to you that you can put directly into the hands of your concrete supplier. So just generally, if you have a project that you'd like to bring to us, you can call me directly. You can email me at hwalker@synthetex.com. So the synthetex.com. We're going to have a conversation about your project. I'm going to ask you for plans, specifications. We will accept napkin drawings. We do a lot of napkin drawings. And then we'll do our analysis with our engineering team. So as Andrew mentioned, we have a full engineering team on staff, some of which specialize on, the design, the product recommendation side, and then others that sit more on the construction, surveying, installation side. We really want to be with you every step of the way from the time you call to the time that the material is there. So you call me, I'm going to ask you for your napkin or your spec or your drawing, send it over. We'll process it through our engineering queue. That typically takes, for typical projects, 1 to 2 days. Some projects, depending on the complexity, could take, a week or 2 weeks. From there, we'll take our takeoff quantities. We'll provide you with a proposal. And then we'll work with you and the engineer, whatever you need to advance the project, to answer questions, to clarify, to tweak. And then hopefully, if we are fortunate, we receive a purchase order for the project. We will generate your shop drawings at that time for no charge, send them to you for engineer of record approval. Once those are approved, it'll move into manufacturing. Once your material is manufactured, we have a logistics team who will follow up with you with the shipping details. We can handle freight, or you can handle freight. And then if needed, we have our installation construction specialist available. We have one in the Latin America region. We also have one in the North America region that are available to support however needed on site. Thank you, Jose. Any other questions? We're Googling sea lifts for you, Mohammed. We're going to answer this question.
Yes, so this is a pretty common application for us. We typically see them around the berths at ports, but I do think that we would be a suitable solution for any erosion that might be occurring where the sea lift is either piled into the ground or if there's any sort of wharf or quay wall where the lift is located. There in front of the wall, we've done many applications like that as well.
I think one of the most interesting things about this technology is that it is cast in place and can be cast in wet or dry conditions. All right, any other questions? You mentioned taking samples in a cardboard box versus steel. How do you account for the pressing of water out of the mix when you pump it into the bag or mattress? Also, the slow cure underwater. Is this for underwater applications? This is for underwater applications.
Yes. So that's a great question, and it is why we recommend the cardboard box versus the steel, is that pressing of the water out of the mix is very difficult to replicate. And so what we've noticed is that the cardboard box absorbs a little bit of water out of the mix. It's not a perfect one-to-one, but it does help opposed to the steel containers.
Thank you, Adam. All right, ladies and gentlemen, any other questions? Okay, excellent. Well, I just want to thank everybody for joining. And I'm going to give you 29 minutes back of your busy week. You can reach out to me, hwalker@synthetex.com, or Andrew Manning, amanning@synthetex.com. And we'll see you all soon.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Sometimes the mix is dry and hard to pour. Jose, we would absolutely love to look into this for you. Sometimes there's different variables depending on the environment and where you are in the country. Let's see what we can do to get you rolling with something that works for you and your team. I missed the first little bit of the presentation. In a high gradient system, how does it attach to the ground?
So most often we just use anchor trenches. For anchorage, we do recommend an anchor trench around all perimeters. Part of the project analysis is we will check the mattress against sliding when we have the information available. And if we do see that the mattress is going to be susceptible to sliding down the slope, we do have some third-party anchorage companies that we can work with to help design a ground anchorage system to help hold the mattress in place.
Thank you for the question, Dwayne. Helicals. What are those?
Helical piles, ground
Okay.
screws.
Look at all this wealth of knowledge in the chat. We've still got a few attendees hanging around. Do you guys have any questions? We'll stay as long as you want to stay. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Jose. We'll be following up with you. Oh, Adam, I didn't forget about you. My dad's looking. My dad's talking to some folks. See Adam.